Hello everybody and welcome to another Music of the Month review. This is for the music that came out in the month of November in the year 2019. Well, it's usually just the music I listen to, and I have the grades actually next to the albums, and we have a fair chunk to go through, so we're not going to waste a lot more time and just get started with it. First is Agnostic Front with Get Loud, which came out in November. I'm going to say which month they actually came out as well, obviously. I give this one a B. Like, it is pretty good punk rock. It's a bit too short in places, and the pacing feels slightly off, but there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It is catchy. It is pretty hardcore when it needs to be, and yeah, just enjoyable. An enjoyable album. Next is what I predicted would be an A plus, Counterparts with Nothing Left to Love, which also came out in November. Yeah, it's definitely an A plus. It was a fantastic way to start November. I mean, I pretty much immediately went to listen to that after I did my last Music of the Month episode for October, so I thought, yeah, it's definitely going the best albums of the year category. Like, Counterparts are fantastic. They continue to elevate all the time. There's just something like poetic about how they do it, and I absolutely love it. I really do. Next is Syra, or Sierra, I have no idea if I'm saying that right, with No Halos on Hell, which I think is their second album. This one came out in November, and it got a B+. These guys are like a supergroup from what I've gathered. I think one of the members used to be in Flames, and I'm glad he's doing a lot better work than he is in Flames, because he feels like a better fit in Sierra. I think it's one of their old guitarists, but yeah, this was a pretty good album. It's also got a hell of a cover. I absolutely love the cover on this thing. It's just really badass. But yeah, it got to B+. It was enjoyable and memorable. A tiny bit long in places, but once again, that's no complete deal breaker here. Next is D's Nuts, and yes, there is a band actually named that. And you have to remember, this year I've listened to bands with names like Prince Daddy and the Hyena, so you know, it's not the weirdest thing. But yeah, D's Nuts, You Got Me Fucked Up, came out in October. I gave this one a B+. Just really enjoyable, really fun. A bit short, it only has 10 songs, and while I do think 10 songs is good, in some cases, like Sum 41's new album, it can be a detriment. I feel like D's Nuts needed one or two more tracks, but yeah, what we got, I'm not really going to complain about too much. It was absolutely fun, really enjoyable punk, hardcore punk style thing. Next, it's Despised Icon with Purgatory, which came out in November. I give this one a B+ as well. There's, you know, as usual, there's a lot of those going around. Sorry. But yeah, this was just really solid deathcore as you would come to expect from Despised Icon, even though it's my first album by them. I think it's their first album since they reformed a few years ago. And I'm really glad I caught like the first album of their new era, if you will. I actually really enjoyed it. There are parts which feel a bit too crazy for my liking. It's the same problem that early Converge had, but you know, eventually I think it'll grow on me. But yeah, it's another album that says once again I should have been listening to deathcore a bit closer. So, next is the only other album that got an A+ this for this month. Spoiler alert, but not the only great album of the month. Fire from the Gods with American Sun, which came out in November. Yeah, A+, absolutely. Love the lyrics, love the messages, love the melodies, love the instrumental work. The lead singer, AJ, I think his name is, he is absolutely fucking brilliant. I really, really enjoy this. I slept on these guys before. I even listened to one of their old songs and didn't think they were that great. Then I heard like the first couple of singles from this, and I'm like, it's promising. Then I listened to the whole album, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm a fucking idiot. I should have been looking out for these guys before. So yeah, definitely Fire from the Gods gets an A+. Really, really enjoyable stuff. Next is Left Behind with No One Goes to Heaven. Which is uplifting. This came out in November, as did American Sun, in case I forgot to say that. And this one also gets a B+. I almost thought about knocking it down to a B, but I elevate it to a B+, because there is quite enough to remember about it. It's heavy. It is a grim album at the end of the day. But still really solid metal. You know, still really good, like, heavy, beat you in the face metal with a fist. And still got plenty of emotion to it. It's got a good theme to it as well. It's a shame the album cover just looks like there's too much going on. It's just a bit weird. I know I don't talk about those a lot, but there you go. And next is McCafferty with The House with No Doorbell, which came out in October. Now, I was looking forward to this and completely forgot it came out in October. So, yeah. But still, I'm listening to it before the year ends. Also, I'm messing with my hair a lot. And I give this one an A. I really, really like this one. It's short, but it's a really enjoyable indie punk album. I remember hearing about these guys because a friend of mine in a Discord server actually recommended them to me, and I listened to one of their older EPs. I forget which one it was, but I was like, yeah, I actually like this really good indie punk sound. And if you like the style of Prince Daddy and the Hyena, if you like the style of Pup, you'll like McCafferty. It's a bit more acoustic tinge as well, which I think actually benefits this band because it's quite a unique sound, and you don't really get that a lot. But yeah, this absolutely gets an A. Really, really enjoyable, really fun, really charming sort of emo indie punk thing. Next is Nile with Vile Nilotic Rights, which came out in November. I'll give this one a B. It's not as long as I thought it'd be, but it's still a fairly long album. You do need to set yourself some time, much like with The Irishman, which is a great film. You need to set yourself some time if you're going to find any to listen to this album. I know that Nile have been around for a while. That was not meant to rhyme. But this was my first album by them. I think I needed to listen to their old stuff first, but what I got, really good melodies, good solos, really good vocal work. I actually really like the vocalist. It just felt a bit repetitive in terms of lyrical content and the fact that there were so many really long songs. But, what we get, not going to complain. That's what I get to be. So, yeah. Next is Raised Fist with Anthems. Again, this came out in November. Raised Fist, another band that's been around for a while. So, did I forget to mention that Niall's album came in November? Well, it did. But anyway, back to Raised Fist. With Anthems. Once again, a bit of a short album. Sort of has the same problem that Agnostic Front's album has. It is a bit short. Some of the sound does feel a bit dated, but it's still enjoyable. It's surprisingly catchy in places, and I'm not going to complain too much about what we get. These are another band that have been around for a while, so the fact that they're still going and still putting out pretty good music, not going to complain. Next is Rising Insane with Porcelain. These guys haven't been around long. I think this is their second album. It could be their first. This came out in November. I gave this one an A-, and I really was surprised by this one. I gave it an A- because there's room to grow, but I feel like the band knew that going in, and they do show that. I think it's really, really positive and human of them to show their flaws on this album, but there isn't really many, and it's really enjoyable. So yeah, it's quite a unique thing for a band, especially considering who they're signed to. I forget who they're signed to, but it is a label. There's a tendency to have bands that do produce sort of more generic styles of metalcore, so Rising Insane standing out on that label. I think it's Sumerian, could be Pure Noise. I forget which it is, but either way, Porcelain by Rising Insane, surprisingly good. Yeah, listen to it when you can. Next is Royal Coda with Compassion, which came out in November. I give this one a B, and I would have given it a B+, maybe even an A-, because the instrumental work, the vocal work, the lyrical work is all great, but there's only 7 songs and it's only half an hour long. And it's an album. It's the band's second album, I think. And it's only a year after their debut. And it's got former members from Dance Gavin Dance and other bands around that sort of area. And I don't know, man. I wanted a lot more out of this album. What I got wasn't enough. And I say 7 songs because I think there's technically 8, but the last one was a reprise of the first track, which to me is a bit lazy. I've never liked that in albums, man. I just haven't. Unless it's a concept thing and feels necessary. It didn't really feel like that with Royal Coda, which is why I get to B. I'm putting a lot of hate on this album. I actually do enjoy it. Like I said, the instrumental, vocal work, and lyrical work was great. I absolutely love the album's cover. It's really artsy and really cool. But it needed more. We needed a lot more to chew on. We weren't given enough. I feel malnourished by this album. And that's coming from me because I'm fat. Next is Stray from the Path with Internal Atomics. This came out in November. This one gets a B+. Definitely a lot better than Only Death is Real. Because I feel like that album was a bit of a slower point for Stray from the Path, so I'm really glad that they managed to pick things up again with this album. Still not quite reaching Subliminal Criminals level of how good Stray from the Path can be, but this was still, a really, really good album, which is why it gets a B+. Catchy in places, heavy, really good political lyrics, as the band is known for pointing out. Just really solid, really good stuff. Next is Victims Aren't We All with Ugly, which came out in November. I give this one a B-. So Victims Aren't We All is sort of formed by Johnny Braddock, who was the guitarist of Get Scared, now that they've sort of broken up after the Dead Days came out. I'm sort of ashamed that Victims Aren't We All's debut album isn't as good as the Dead Days. I think the problem is because it's a full-length debut from a new band who only formed this year, really. And, they've released no EPs. They released, 1 or 2 singles before it, so the lack of promotion didn't help. I do like the fact that it wasn't completely, a bash against the old band. In fact, there's hardly any of that, but the lyrical content feels a bit repetitive and a bit too familiar to what Get Scared would put out, but it doesn't feel as well structured or put together as what Get Scared would do. But, yeah, it's not terrible. I mean, a B- isn't a bad grade. You know, it's above par, and I feel like if victims aren't all given enough time, they will get better and better. They do get props for their name because I like to think it's a reference to The Crow, which is one of my favorite movies. So, yeah. The next three albums did not come out in November. I thought I'd point that out really quickly. So first is the Walker Roaders with their self-titled debut, which came out in August. I give this one a B. The Walker Roaders consist of former members of Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys, and I forget the third band. I think it's called the Pogues. There's like one member from each band, and they actually formed this really charming little Celtic indie punk outfit. It's a good album, but it's only got 8 songs. It's got the same problem that Roller Coaster's album does. It just feels short. Like, I wanted a lot more of it, but I was charmed. I really, really liked it. I thought it was just a blast of an album to listen to, even if not a lot of it stuck with me, but hell, what you get is still really enjoyable. So, once again, it's not a major complaint, but yeah, I do wish we had more of this. So, Next is Wanima with Coming At Ya, which came out in October and gets a B-. Wanima are a Japanese band. I covered their last album, not their debut album. I think that was the second one, and the last one was called Everybody. The thing is, no matter how hard I looked around for this one, there's like 14 songs total. I could only listen to 13 because one of them was banned in my country, and it wasn't just on YouTube. I tried finding it on Spotify, it wasn't there. The song wasn't there. I tried finding it on other music sites I use, and it wasn't on there either. This was weird. I don't know why they'd include a track even, unless that track and a few others were not supposed to be on international releases. But if that's the case, why, with 14 songs, why would only one of them be banned from my country? The album's confusing, basically. Even it's not just because it's in Japanese, because I actually like it. It's a charming album. It's a fun, like, punk rock, alternative rock thing, as Wanima are known for doing. I won't say I wish I had more of it, but, like, the structuring was a bit weird because I felt like it was a bit too long. But yeah, I don't know. It's a strange one to describe, but I do remember liking it at least. So if I remember liking something, it must be semi-decent, which is why the B- is great. And last of all, War of Ages with Void, which came out in September, and I give a C+. Now, War of Ages are a band I've listened to consistently, but they're sort of the Call of Duty of, like, alternative metal / Christian bands. They sort of do the same thing over and over again. It becomes sort of a decline in quality. Don't get me wrong, what War of Ages do is good, but I don't know, like, over the past couple of albums, it doesn't feel like it's got really any substance to it, and they need a change in sound. They've basically been doing the same thing since 2012, at least for me, because that's when I listened to my first album by them. So, yeah, they need to, like, pick up the slack a bit more. What we're getting is okay, but it's far from great. We definitely need, like, they need a fire up under their asses, but, I mean, the instrumental work is still great. It's actually some of the heaviest they've put on an album, but the lyrical work, it just feels like the same stuff over and over again. It's like verging on Papa Roach levels of it needs some improvement, Like, I don't know. At least the cover for it is actually really, really good. But yeah, all in all, C+, the lowest graded album, but considering it's a C+, that's really not a massive deal breaker. And that about finishes the month of November. I would give it like a solid. I'd give it a solid what? I don't know. I think the month of November was solid. We didn't really get any terrible albums, to be honest. But we didn't get a lot of great ones, except for Counterparts and Fire from the Gods albums. I recommend those are the albums you listen to first. Then McCafferty, then Rising Insane. Well, you know what? Just listen to whatever the hell you want to listen to. I mean, that's not for me to decide. But Counterparts and Fire from the Gods are the only two I truly recommend. And then McCafferty and then Rising Insane. Because those are both also really, really good. But yeah, I'll see you most likely either tomorrow or Tuesday for the go-home show before Defy the Gods on PBW. That's going to be amazing. And then UFC reviews for that. And then at the end of the year, well, obviously there's going to be the next top 10 list of the albums of 2015. And then I've got to do the best albums, a 10 list for honorable mentions in 2019, then a top 20 list. Like, the first 10 are going to be 20 albums. No, the first 10 are going to be the first 10 albums, and then the second list is going to be the next 10 albums. You know what I mean? Yes, that's. And then it'll be Music of the Month after December's over, because there actually is, there's 8 albums I have at least, and this is including stuff I've missed. So there could be more, but I have at least 8 albums to listen to in December. So, yeah. I actually have a little bit more work this time around, much more than last year when I didn't think there was anything, and suddenly, oh no, more stuff. That's how it goes. Anyway, I'll most likely see you for the next PBW episode. That's probably the most likely thing that's going to happen next, and then new top 10 list, and then things will come as they are. I don't know what's going to be next after that, but probably UFC review. It all depends. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.